Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Ladies and gentlemen, I am caught up with the snow removal. I have a little bit left to do to clean up a couple of trails here in the Alaska Prepper homestead to be. But other than that, I'm pretty caught up. So this afternoon, we're going to have a live stream at 2 p.m. Alaska time, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Alright, so hope to see you there. Now ladies and gentlemen, this is a very long article to which I'm going to go ahead and leave the link to this article all the way in the bottom of the description of the video. I'll leave the link to the three websites that I'm going to go ahead and share with you today. But this is very important. This is something that I have not really heard going on in the YouTube world, right? Yes, people are talking about how China is hoarding over half the world's food, and indeed they are. But why is it? Why are they hoarding half the world's food? I'm here to tell you why I think they are, and I think that my point has a lot of validity to it, and it's something that we've talked about in the past. So here it says, what do they know? China has hoarded over half the world's grains in the last 2 years to prepare for famine. Now, ladies and gentlemen, all of a sudden, why is it that China is buying up all of this food from everyone? They've been doing it for the last couple of years. And I've been reporting on this as well for the last couple of years, that China is just importing a whole bunch of food from any country that they can. They don't care how much it costs. Why are they importing all of this food? Well, as I stated in the past, I believe that China is starving. And what do I mean by starving? That they cannot produce enough food to feed their people. This year alone, they saw a devastating crop failure due to floods, due to freezing weather, etc. All right, natural disasters. So I believe it was 50 to 75% of what they would have otherwise harvested, that they were only able to harvest about 25% to 50% of what they would have otherwise harvested. So they're buying food from everyone. They're stocking it up. But why? I don't think that is because they're getting ready to go to war, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that I am right when I say that, and I truly hope that I'm not wrong. I hope that they're not thinking about going to war. I think that they are using that as a smokescreen as to the real reason. You see, ladies and gentlemen, China has gone through different periods in their history where they have had different empires. And every time that an empire in China has collapsed was due to one thing. And I'm going to share that with you here in a second. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at this other article that has nothing to do with China, but I think it has to do with why it is that China is stockpiling like they are. And this is the message that we should all resonate on after this video, is why they are stocking up. And this is why, ladies and gentlemen. Now bear with me, okay? Bear with me, because this is leading up to the answer. After the warmest Christmas on record, Alaska braces for biblical rains. And then it shows here that in Kodiak, they recorded 67 degrees the day after Christmas. While in the Kodiak airport, they recorded 65 degrees, which is I think 20 degrees higher. Yes, this gentleman here says, this is berserk. Kodiak, Alaska hit 65 degrees today, 20 degrees warmer than their previous record. Well, ladies and gentlemen, when they say previous record, I want you to understand that is the previous record that they've recorded since they started keeping records. It's not the previous record of all time, right? It's the previous record that they've recorded since they started keeping records. And here you can see a map of what Alaska looks like as far as the different levels of warmth, right, that Alaska was experiencing during this heat wave that we have. I think they called it Ice-mageddon 2021 because our roads are now completely covered in ice, and I can attest to that. They are completely covered in ice, and I don't see how that ice is going to be coming off until after the snow melts here in the spring. But you know what? That's something that we deal with every year. Every year our roads are pretty much covered in ice. And you've often heard me say that I always rather it be cold during the winter than warm for that exact same reason. Because when it's colder, the cold air pretty much sucks the moisture out of the snow. Or the coldness sucks the moisture out of the air, right? And any residual snow that there may be on roofs or roads and stuff like that, it becomes fluffier because the cold seems to suck the moisture out of it, meaning that you don't have as much weight on your roof. All right, that's how I look at it, because I'm like, oh man, I have 4.5 feet of snow on my roof. The colder it is, the lighter that snow sitting on my roof will be. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So that's why here in Alaska, we rather it be nice and cold during the winter than to have warm spells like we did here in the last week. But I want you to take a look at this map of Alaska and the levels of warmthness that it has, achieved here in the last week or so. Now, I want you to compare it to this, ladies and gentlemen. You've heard me talk about this next subject matter here plenty of times on this channel if you've been with me for a long time. Now, you've heard me talk about the grand solar minimum. Okay. Now, during the grand solar minimum, ladies and gentlemen, what happens? We have less energy. I'm going to put it very simply. There is a whole bunch of things that you can get into. I can start talking about how cosmic rays enter the atmosphere of the Earth a lot easier during a grand solar minimum than during a grand solar maximum, all right, or a solar maximum. And I can talk about how the cosmic rays affect the Earth's crust, and we have more earthquakes, how it affects volcanoes, all of those things. But putting it as simply as I possibly can, what a solar minimum is when the sun's energy coming towards the Earth is less. The sun expels less energy coming towards the Earth. There's less sunspots on the sun, meaning that we get less warmth from the Earth. A solar maximum is when there's more sunspots on the sun, therefore giving us more warmth, more energy from the sun. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Now, a grand solar minimum means that we have a very long time. We have a long time, decades upon decades, where the sun is producing a lot less energy continuously. All right, so we are now into a grand solar minimum. The last grand solar minimum that we had, I think it was called the Maunder minimum, and it happened in the 16 to 1700s, about 350 years ago, something like that. And that is the cycle of grand solar minimums, about 350 years or so. And if you look back at every grand solar minimum that we've had in recorded history, going back thousands of years, you will see that during every grand solar minimum in the past, the empires in China that once stood were taken down. Why? Because an empire or a government cannot exist if it cannot feed its people. That's why China is gathering as much food and hoarding as much food as they possibly can. I mean, I personally don't think that they're hoarding. I think that they're preparing for what they know will come. They may not be saying to the people, yes, we're entering into a time when famine will become mainstream. Why is that, ladies and gentlemen? Because when the sun is not producing the same amount of energy that we're used to getting from the sun in order to grow foods, in order for plants to go through photosynthesis and actually create calories, then we're not going to be able to feed the same amount of people that we were years ago. There's more people in the earth now. We're going to be getting a lot less energy from the sun. What do we need to grow plants? We need energy from the sun in order to grow plants. If you're going to get less energy from the sun, you're going to be able to grow less plants. Now, some people may say that technology can help, and absolutely it can. But what are governments doing with the money that they're stealing from us in order to help us here for what's coming? They're doing nothing with it. They're wasting the money. Look back to the last 2 years. In the last couple of years, just the United States alone has created about 30 to 40% of all of the money that has ever existed since the birth of the nation. Are your roads any better? Is your health care any better? Are the schools any better? Ladies and gentlemen, you can answer those questions for yourself. But I would say that they're taking that money and wasting it. What's one solution? I can think of a very small solution, but I'm sure it's a lot more complicated than what I will say, because I'm not a nuclear engineer, right? But if you take a small nuclear plant and you disperse small nuclear plants across, a lot of parts of the country, and then you go ahead and use that energy from the nuclear reactors to go ahead and power, farms, as far as being able to make greenhouses and create artificial light from the energy that is being made from that nuclear reactor. That's probably one solution, but in my opinion, it's too late. It's too late. They've thrown away all of the time that they had in order to prepare for this, and now we are getting into the grand solar minimum. So ladies and gentlemen, if you're not preparing, this is the best day for you to start preparing. Okay? I hope that you are preparing. Make this your New Year's resolution, that if you're not preparing, that you're going to start preparing. Because they are not going to tell you what's going on. It's out there for you to find out, but they're not going to tell you. All right, ladies and gentlemen? And I just wanted to go ahead and compare this map. If you take a look at this map, all right, and take a look at a historical map of what happens during a grand solar minimum, all right, specifically the Maunder minimum, which is from 1680 to 1780 is what this map entails. Take a look at the hot spots. Look at Alaska. I mean, this map is pretty close to the one that I just showed you that was recent. This one right here that is recent, look at the hot spots. And look at the hot spots on this map. And can you contest that the lower 48s in the United States, can you contest that they have been getting colder? I would say that everyone that lives in the lower 48s, of course, there are some places that are not going to get as cold as, you know, what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about an ice age here. I'm not talking about, you know, 100-foot glaciers coming in and engulfing your house. Right? I'm talking about getting cold enough to disturb the way in which we grow food. Okay? That is what the solar minimum, this grand solar minimum, is going to do to cause famine. It is going to get cold enough where it will affect how we grow food. And if we don't adjust, not just as individuals, but as nations, to what's coming, there will be famine. I've stated in the past that many people will perish. Many people will perish because of the actions and inactions that our governments are taking on our behalf, if you want to say that. Which I don't really think is on our behalf, because they will be very well fed while other people are starving. So ladies and gentlemen, this is why China is stocking up all of its food. One reason, because they want to keep control. Because they know that if their population is not fed, that they will be overturned. There's no way that China's government, no matter how well armed they are, can stave off 1.4 billion people. There's no way they can do it. The people have the power. And in China, in their culture, from what I understand it, I've never been to China, but their people there are pretty straightforward. When their people are unhappy with their government, they really show it. And there's no one that's scarier than a person who's really hungry or has children that are really hungry, ladies and gentlemen. So don't allow yourselves to be put in that position. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't matter whether our government is doing this, whether China is doing that. What really matters today is what are you doing? What are you doing to ensure that when we're in the middle of this grand solar minimum, where food scarcity is a fact of life, when people talk about food all the time, because they talk about the good old days when they could go to Costco and get a 50-pound bag of rice. These are the days that we will be talking about in the future. Those are the good old days. Remember when I used to be able to go to Costco and get a 50-pound bag of rice or a 25-pound bag of beans? Man, those were the good old days. Remember when I used to just go to, Costco or Tommy G's and get a pack of sirloin or get a ribeye? Man, those were the good old days. Why do you think that governments are working on trying to get us to eat bugs? Why? Why all of a sudden in the last few years have they been, using propaganda against us to try to get us to start eating bugs or drink cockroach milk? Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. Does it not make sense that China is stockpiling half the world's food and our governments are keeping us in the dark as to what's going on as far as the future of food production? So I hope that you're getting prepared. And I hope to see you this afternoon during our live stream. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Now, let me go ahead and put this out real quick for those of you that are still here. The Essentials Kit that Nutrient Survival has on sale, it's through the end of today. All right, through the end of the year. So if you haven't purchased your Essentials Kit yet, that comes with 25 single servings. It comes with a bread box. I'm not sure if you can see it back there behind me on the shelf. Then go ahead and take a look at it if you want to get it. Once today is over with, then there won't be on sale anymore. All right. Other than that, I hope that you have a great day. Remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place. And you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to all of you and your families. I'm Alaska Prepper, and I'm out. Ladies and gentlemen, every time that Becky or Eric at Nutrient Survival tell me that they have a lot of return customers, it is not a surprise to me because I know firsthand that this is the most nutrient-dense survival food in the market, and it tastes great. Many people tell me that this food is too expensive, but compared to what? I have not been able to find another long-term survival food in the market that comes close to matching what Nutrient Survival offers in terms of nutrition. I would say that it's hard to find any food nowadays that are packed with as many nutrients that your body needs and can easily absorb, and that is why I am such a big supporter and advocate of this product. Sure, you can buy cheap calories with almost zero nutrients, or you can buy what I like to call the Cadillac of survival food, which is this. Nutrient Survival is currently offering this AP Essentials Kit until the end of this year for about $141 after you use the AP code at checkout. And ladies and gentlemen, I would never promote this food unless I thought it was the best. So feed your freedom with Nutrient Survival.